Inside Out 2, now its first opening weekend, it did a really, really good job. Now, the projected numbers for Inside Out 2 on its opening weekend, the industry projected that it was going to be about $80 to $90 million on its opening weekend. The actual numbers, however, for Inside Out 2's box office in that opening weekend was $155 million. And that's domestically. Worldwide, I think that was another 150, so it was about $300 million. It was insane, basically. Disney have got a big box office opening here, and this is very similar to the box office openings that they would used to get when they were on the top of their game when it came to family animation. So yeah, it made a ton, and now we're in our second week, and our second week it's made even more money at the box office, bringing its total from what was originally in its first week about $500 million to $724 million. So yeah, in its second week, Inside Out 2 is already starting to reach that $1 billion point. This just basically goes to show how people still are willing to go to the theaters. So I will say one thing this does prove is that all of Disney's excuses for their previous box office failures, especially in 2023, is just a load of nonsense. If you guys remember, in 2023, when Disney was speaking to their investors, they were constantly bringing up the pandemic, which they keep falling on, even though the pandemic is not something to complain about anymore. That's not keeping people from leaving their houses anymore. So that's a dead argument, but they keep bringing it up. They also talk about the fact of how, well, you know, people just don't go to the theater as much nowadays. And again, this proves the opposite. People are willing to go. So this basically just kicks all of those arguments out of the water, basically, for Disney, so they cannot fall onto those silly excuses anymore in the future. Because in the future, let's say this movie did well. This is one of their movies that's going to do well, and I will assume that Deadpool and Wolverine will do well as well. Let's just say those two do good, and then the rest of their movies do bad. Disney cannot say to their shareholders and their investors that, the audiences, they don't come to the theaters, that's it. And the pandemic, people just don't go to the theaters anymore. We've had other movies that have proved otherwise, like Barbie, Oppenheimer, and the Mario movie, and now we've got one of Disney's own. So it shows that people are willing to go to the theaters. It's got nothing to do with the fact that pandemic has deterred them or anything of the sort. It's all down to the fact that Disney were just not making movies that people wanted to see. And Inside Out 2 is a movie that they wanted to see. And on top of that, I will say this, I'm doing a versus video for Inside Out 1 and 2, and I will give you a little bit of a tease as to what I say in my versus video. One of the points I bring up is that Inside Out 2 has nothing controversial in it. So no one can say Inside Out 2 is controversial, it's doing this, it's discussing that. It's not. And parents, not just domestically, but internationally, rely on that for their family entertainment when it comes to coming to these movies as a family with their children. They don't want politics, they don't want anything like that. They specifically want just good programming and good family entertainment, and that's exactly what Inside Out 2 delivered, and this is the results of Disney giving them that kind of entertainment. And it's not shocking. I mean, this is the kind of thing that Disney used to pride themselves on, and it's something they used to do so well, and it's given them such a great box office return. I mean, look at this. This is something that Disney used to get all the time back in the days because people trusted Disney, but now they don't. Charleston, you says, I haven't seen Inside Out 2 yet, I'm hoping it isn't woke. It's not woke. You cannot use that word woke on this whatsoever. I've watched the movie, there is nothing in it where you can say that's woke or they're trying to preach. Now, there are moments where they could have. That is something I noticed when I was watching. There is something that they could have done there. Especially, I think with Riley, they could have tried to make her gay if they wanted to, with a particular character or characters maybe. But they didn't. Especially because in the first movie, she was into boys, remember? I will die for Riley, that boy that she would dream about.
Who the heck is that?
Imaginary boyfriend.
I would die for Riley.
Oh, I've never seen him before.
I live in Canada.
Anyway.
So yeah, they've not changed things. They've not said that, okay, now she's into girls or anything like that. They've kept it very PG, they've kept it very family appropriate for international audiences, because that's what Disney was very good at, bringing international audiences in. But their international numbers at the box office had really been declining because international people don't have the same Western politics and ideologies that Western society does. Heck, even in Western society, they're pushing back against this kind of thing in their movies. So, yeah, that's something that was really doing bad for Disney in the box office. But now, the fact they've done a very good job of not doing that, look at the result. So this should teach Disney a very solid lesson that they should not start to preach in their future movies. It's not really getting them anything in terms of box office. If anything, it's deterring their box office and their audiences, especially their worldwide audiences. So I would definitely recommend that Disney keep on doing this, because this is what they used to do. And that's all they have to do, is return to form. They shouldn't have left that form in the first place, but they did. Now, it is possible that Disney can learn the wrong lesson from this, because if there's one thing that a lot of us have been annoyed with, is that Disney are getting too sort of like trigger happy with movie sequels. So they're trying to do another Toy Story movie, even though a lot of people are turning on Toy Story 4 and saying that that should not have been made, it should have ended with Toy Story 3, and I agree. And what they're also trying to do now is, like I said, make a Toy Story 5, they're also going to make Moana 2, which technically is a sequel people did want, so that's okay. But it makes you think, what are they going to do next? Are they going to do another Finding Nemo or Finding Dory? Are they going to take some of their more recent movies and make sequels to those? I mean, they're already still trying to be on that live-action remake bandwagon with the Mufasa movie coming, which I hope does not do well, because I don't want them to continue down that route. Making a Lion King sequel or origin in animation would have been so much better, but instead doing it with CGI and trying to make it look live-action, that was a bad idea. But yes, there's a lot of good things that can come from this and a lot of bad things that can come from this, and Disney, being a very tone-deaf and quite frankly a really stupid studio at times, as we've seen, I think they're going to take more bad lessons from this. But I will say, this is a good result for Disney. They should take the right lessons from it. No political preaching, pandering, anything like that. Just go back to making good old-fashioned worldwide entertainment that is great for audiences internationally, not just, you know, the social media crowd that they've been trying to appeal to, which was so silly. So, yes, fantastic job for Disney. I have no doubt this movie will reach the $1 billion mark, because that was a big question. Its opening weekend was great, but what would the fallout be? And the fallout, as you can clearly see, was not that big. This is a fantastic result and will be one of the biggest box office performers of 2024. I have no doubt about that. So, yeah. Stay tuned for my versus video when I compare Inside Out 1 and 2 together. And yeah, this is a great result. The movie itself was fun. And yeah, stay tuned for my versus video if you want to know more of what I think of this movie.